Corporate Finance Core, Topic 10, International Corporate Finance, Learning Objective number 2. We're going to calculate currency appreciations for direct and indirect currencies and understand their importance. So a currency appreciation formula is quite simple. You just take a new exchange rate called S1 minus an old exchange rate, S0, over the old exchange rate, S0, and that'll basically give you the classic percent change formula. However, here's the problem with currencies. They're either quoted in direct or indirect. So when I apply that formula, am I talking about the base currency or the quote currency? Another way of thinking about that, if I'm looking at the exchange rate, say $1.10 per euro, and that goes up or down, is that an appreciation or depreciation of the euro or the dollar? The answer is, it's always telling you the appreciation or depreciation of the base currency. I sometimes call it the denominator currency. If you look at the quote, and the way I write it is $1.10 / over euros per 1 euro. So it's always telling you about what happened to the base currency in terms priced or quoted in the quote currency. So that's how we talk about it. So let's look at an example. The euro exchange rate goes from 110, the old value, to 115, the new value. So that is the price of 1 euro quoted in dollars, and looks like the euro appreciated, right? It went from $1.10 to $1.15, just like any commodity would appreciate. Say if I told you milk went from $1.10 to $1.15, you'd say milk appreciated, priced in dollars. So I just do my new minus old, divided by old formula, 115 minus 110 over 110, and I get 4.54%. So the price of euros have appreciated for dollar holders, Americans, by 4.54%. So if I'm traveling to Paris and I'm getting a hotel and the price of the hotel is unchanged in euros, as an American, I'm going to pay 4.54% more dollars to buy that hotel. Again, the price in euros is unchanged, but the fact that it's going to cost me 4.54% higher to buy the euros. It's going to be more expensive for an American. Now, the question is, well, what happened to the price of hotels in New York for Europeans? Are they down 4.54%? Well, the answer is, well, almost. It's close. However, you can't just look at one appreciation, change the sign, and say that's the depreciation of the other currency. So, how would I talk about what has been the appreciation of the dollar for Europeans? Well, I'd have to change the base currency to dollar, so I have to do the euro price of $1, new minus old over old. So I can do 1 over the new minus 1 over old, 1 over the old, using that $1.15 and $1.10 exchange rate. So I can do 1 over 115 minus 1 over 110 divided by 1 over 110, and I get negative 4.35%. So it's not exactly just changing the sign, but close for small changes in the exchange rate. And for currencies that are closer to parity, closer to the number 1. However, instead of flipping the exchange rates to talk about the quote currency, if I want to talk about what happened to the quote currency, in this case the dollar, I really could just do old minus new over new, which is kind of a funky, wrong percent change formula. It's turning things around, but just so happens mathematically that that's the case. So if you want to talk about what happened to the base currency, do new minus old over old. So the dollar price of the euro, just do new minus old over old. Talk about the euro. But if you want to know about the dollar, what happened to the price of the dollar for Europeans, do old minus new over new. And so another question that commonly comes up, like, why does it mathematically happen to be different numbers? Why isn't it the same? Well, it has to do with percent changes of ratios. So, for example, to go from the number 3 to 4, right? So to go from the number 3 to 4, the change is 1 over 3, so it's a 33% change. But that's got to be a different percent change than going from the number 1/3 to 1/4. All right, that's a number, it's smaller, but in percent change, it's just different. So that's why. Let's do an indirect quote. So, what if someone tells you the Canadian price of $1 going from a 105 to 103. So what is the case here? The quote currency is the Canadian dollar, and the base currency is the US dollar. All right, because it's the price of one US dollar quoted in Canadian. So if I just do my new minus old over old formula, it's going to tell me what happened to the US dollar, negative 1.905%, 103 minus 105 over 105. However, usually Americans want to know what happens to the foreign exchange. You know, are Canadians more or less expensive? So to talk about that, that's the quote currency. I'll just do old minus new over new and do 105 minus 103 over 103. And it turns out that the Canadian appreciated 1.94%, while the dollar depreciated by 1.905%. Which you might say, well, that's not much of a difference. Well, it is in certain businesses. You know, sometimes in financial markets, the difference between a 0.03 and 0.04 is the entire profit margin. So you need to know what the exact number is. And here are some practice problems. You can go to the spreadsheet, but let's talk about how I got the formulas in the spreadsheet. So you're given quotes in 2018 and 2019. Most of the stuff we're going to do is in 2019 until we start doing percent changes. So you have the dollar price of the euro. You have the dollar price of the pound. You have the yen price of the dollar. And you have the Canadian dollar price of one US dollar. So I got 2 direct quotes and 2 indirect quotes. So the dollar price of a euro is $1.10. The dollar price of a pound is $1.23. It's 107 yen per dollar and 133 CAD per dollar. So how many dollars would it cost to buy 100 euros? Problem number 1. Well, I'd write down 100 euros. I need a dollar per euro exchange rate. That's given at 110, so the answer will be 110. And you can check out the spreadsheet. Problem number 2, how many euros would it cost to buy $100? Well, I'll write in $100. I need a euro over dollar exchange rate. I'm not given that, so I'm going to multiply times 1 over 110. So $100 is worth $90 or 90.91 euros. Third problem, how many dollars would it cost to buy 1,000 yen? Well, I'll take 1,000 yen. I need a dollar over yen exchange rate. I'm given a yen over dollar exchange rate, so I'll multiply 1,000 yen over 1 over 107. And that's going to be equal to $9.35 for 1,000 yen. Problem number 4. How many yen would it cost to buy $1,000? So how many JPY would it cost to buy $1,000? So I'm going to type in $1,000 times a yen over dollar exchange rate, which is 107, and you get 107,000 yen. Problem 5, what is the appreciation of the euro? Now in this case, the euro is quoted in direct terms, dollar price of a euro, so I'll just do new minus old over old, 110 minus 105 over 105, and the euro has appreciated by 4.76%. What is the appreciation of the dollar versus the euro? So notice in brackets I put versus the euro because I have to tell you what it's quoted in. So what is the appreciation of the dollar? Well, the base currency is the euro, so if you want to talk about the quote currency, I'll do old minus new over new, 105 minus 110 all over 110. So the euro devalued 4.55%, 4.55%. And then number 7, what is the appreciation of the yen? Well, you're given an indirect quote of the yen going from 100 to 107. And it's quoted as the yen price of a dollar, so the dollar is the base currency. If I want to know about the quote currency, the yen, I need to do old minus new over new, 100 minus 107 over 107. Now, why do we care so much about appreciations and depreciations? Well, if the euro depreciates 10% against the dollar, for a U.S. corporation that is earning euros and by selling their products in Germany and France, their dollar-denominated receivables are going to fall 10%. So say Apple sells the same amount of iPhones this year in Europe, but the euro devalues by 10%. Well, the customers in EU are paying in euros, and when that money is then converted into dollars back to the U.S. to pay the shareholders. And in that case, they're gonna look like revenue on the income statement is going to fall by 10%. So it's really important. And what if companies outsource to China? Say you pay your labor in China in yuan or RMB, right? Chinese currency. Well, if the Chinese yuan appreciates 10% against the dollar, it's going to cost you 10% more dollars to pay the labor, even though the labor didn't get a raise. So your labor cost just looks like they went up by 10%. And in general, if the dollar is appreciating against most major currencies due to some reason, U.S. exports are going to be roughly 10% more expensive to the rest of the world. And that would lead to a decrease in exports for the U.S. and could lead to a U.S. recession. So that's why it's important to keep track of currency appreciations. And we need to understand, based on how the currency is quoted, how do I compute an appreciation or depreciation of a currency. So that's topic 2.